Between 2021 and 2025, organized crime in New Zealand went through a seismic shakeup. At the center of this storm was the Comanchero motorcycle club, which had operated with increasing boldness and increasingly sophisticated methods. Law enforcement mounted a multi-phase offensive that would change everything, orchestrated by the National Organized Crime Group (NOCG). This intense investigation culminated in September 2024 and April 2025, with over 137 criminal charges laid and the gang's leadership effectively decapitated. What made this operation stand out wasn't just the arrests, it was the strategy. Investigators didn't rely solely on reactive policing. Instead, they followed the money, exposing the Comancheros not just as a motorcycle gang, but as a professionalized paramilitary-influenced criminal organization. The genesis of the Golden Empire Section 501 in New Zealand expansion. To understand the scale of the 137 charges, it helps to look at how the Comancheros established themselves in New Zealand. Traditionally, the country's gang scene was dominated by groups like the Mongrel Mob and Black Power organizations rooted in local territory and social alienation. The arrival of the Comancheros in 2018 changed that. The trigger, Australia's Section 501 deportation policy, which forced non-citizen felons back to New Zealand. These deportees, often called 501s, didn't arrive empty. They brought criminal expertise, international networks, and a taste for flashy lifestyles. The Comanchero MC itself had been founded in Sydney in 1968 by William George "Jock" Ross, and it carried a long legacy of violence paired with a sophisticated business model. The gang combined drug importation with complex financial laundering and, by 2018, had started using social media to recruit young, impressionable recruits. Their strategy was simple but effective: display wealth, power, and influence. Gold-plated Harley-Davidson's luxury vehicles, in a lifestyle of conspicuous success, weren't just status symbols, they were marketing tools, and law enforcement quickly took notice. Strategic dismantling. 4 phases of investigative excellence. The takedown of the Comancheros wasn't a single event, it was a coordinated, multi-agency campaign. The New Zealand police worked alongside Customs Corrections and Inland Revenue to systematically strip the gang of its resources, influence, and internal control. Phase 1. Operation Scuba. Hitting the money. The first phase, Operation Scuba, launched in July 2021. Investigators targeted the gang's economic engine room. The Comancheros' power came from their ability to launder the massive profits generated by methamphetamine and cocaine trafficking. By cutting off their financial lifeline, law enforcement struck directly at the heart of the gang's attempt to embed itself in the legitimate economy. This operation shows how sophisticated modern policing has to be when dealing with highly professionalized gangs. It wasn't just about arresting people, it was about dismantling an entire criminal ecosystem, step by step, and ensuring that the gang could no longer operate with the same level of impunity. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that the weren't just street-level criminals, they had an entire network of professional facilitators. These white-collar enablers provided the gang with a corporate infrastructure needed to run complex money laundering operations. By March 2024, 11 people had been charged, including directors of companies allegedly used as shell entities. When liquidators were appointed for firms like Cook and Henry Co. Limited, investigators uncovered the scale of the financial web, revealing debts owed to Inland Revenue and multiple service sector businesses. The restraint of $5.8 million in assets, including the infamous Southside pad in Weymouth and High and Harley-Davidson's, delivered the first major blow to the gang's aura of invincibility. Phase 2. Operation Brewer. Disrupting the gang's supply line. Operation Scuba targeted money. Operation Brewer, which wrapped up in July 2023, hit the gang's inventory. Police and Customs exposed just how clever the gang's smuggling operations were. 2 kilograms of methamphetamine were found hidden inside farm machinery. The seizure was massive, not only in volume but in impact. If distributed, the meth would have caused an estimated $215 million in social harm. Stopping it didn't just remove drugs from circulation, it disrupted the gang's contracts with international cartels and other organized crime networks. 8 people were charged in this phase, all of them the gang's logistics managers, capable of navigating the complexities of shipping and border security. Phase 3. Operation Avon. Collapsing the Southern Front. By August 2024, the investigation widened to counter the gang's national ambitions. Operation Avon focused on the relay system moving drugs and cash between Auckland and Christchurch. Police intelligence suggested roughly $15 million worth of illegal substances passed through this corridor every few weeks. Operation Avon became a tactical showcase in regional policing. Across 70 warrants in Auckland, Christchurch, and Dunedin, authorities arrested every patched member of the Christchurch chapter. They also seized 6.5 kilograms of meth and 9 gang patches, effectively eradicating the gang's presence in the South Island. This phase proved that the so-called 501 influence could be contained, and that the gang's regional expansion wasn't sustainable against coordinated provincial policing. Phase 4. Operation Embargo. Inside the Paramilitary Directive, the final and most revealing phase was Operation Embargo. investigators traced a 2021 directive mandating a commission scheme, internal tax requiring members to pay $5,000 to the gang for every kilogram of drugs sold. The scheme wasn't just about money, it was strategic. Funds raised were allegedly used to buy a gangpad and 2 businesses to further money laundering, acquire firearms, including sawn-off shotguns, to maintain tactical dominance, fund military-style training for 15 members, led by a specialist trainer brought in specifically for this purpose. Operation Embargo reached its peak in September 2024 with 62 search warrants executed, leading to a cumulative total of 137 charges. Authorities seized 32 gang patches and 83 mobile phones, which offered a treasure trove of digital intelligence, detailing the gang's transnational connections across Australia, Southeast Asia, and Turkey. This investigation highlighted how modern organized crime is not just violent, it's structured, corporate, and global. From money laundering to paramilitary training, the Comancheros were operating like a business with deadly muscle, and the authorities' intelligence-driven approach showed that even the most sophisticated criminal networks can be dismantled with patience, strategy, and precision. One of the most striking revelations from the investigation was the Comancheros military-style training program. This marks a major evolution in the way outlaw motorcycle gangs operate in the South Pacific, by bringing in a foreign trainer to instruct 15 members in tactical skills. The gang was moving beyond the old biker brotherhood image and toward something closer to a private militia. This shift wasn't random. Between 2022 and 2023, senior Comanchero leaders in Australia, including Tarek Zart and Mick Murray, were targeted in violent attacks and arrests. For the New Zealand chapter, military-style training was a way to protect themselves from rival gangs, like the Mongols or rebels, and to prepare for high-risk encounters with police. Funding the training through their internal commission scheme also underscores just how professional and self-sustaining the gang had become. Leadership decapitation. The Howick arrest. April 2025. The investigation reached its peak on April 8, 2025, when the gang's 36-year-old national vice president was arrested in Auckland's Howick suburb. He was the last senior leader not already facing charges, meaning this arrest completed the total decapitation of the leadership. The vice president faced charges for coordinating with transnational criminal networks to import methamphetamine and cocaine through the port of Tauranga. Assistant Commissioner Paul Basham described the arrest as a significant milestone and a considerable blow to the gang's operational capacity. With the president, Pasilika Nafahu, already serving a 10-year sentence, and the vice president now in custody, the gang's administrative and operational cohesion had effectively disappeared. Symbolic warfare, crushing the golden Harleys in the world of organized crime. Image is often as important as territory. For the Comancheros, their gold-plated Harley-Davidsons weren't just motorcycles, they were a symbol of untouchable wealth and power. In February 2024, New Zealand police struck back with a bold act of symbolic warfare. 6 gold-plated Harleys, valued at $96,000, were crushed into scrap. Commissioner Andrew Coster explained that these bikes were so distinctive they had become inseparable from the Comanchero brand. Selling them at auction risked the bikes eventually returning to the gang and reinforcing their influence. Watching the gang's most prized status symbols reduced to scrap sent a clear message to the public, rival gangs, and potential recruits alike. The glitter of the Comancheros is an illusion, and the state has the power to destroy it. Legislative context and an all-of-government response. This crackdown didn't happen in isolation. It was part of a broader government-wide strategy. New legislation banning gang patches in public spaces and allowing searches of private homes signaled a coordinated all-of-government offensive against organized crime. Controversial as these measures were, their goal was simple: strip gangs of their primary tools of intimidation. Their regalia demonstrate that the Comancheros' influence, while flashy and bold, was ultimately vulnerable to law enforcement and legislative action. The Comanchero investigation wasn't just about arrests, it was a proving ground for a new way of tackling organized crime. By removing gang patches through arrests and asset forfeiture and targeting the professional facilitators who managed their money, the state created a hostile environment for the so-called 501 model of criminality, involving inland revenue and the companies registered to identify the directors of shell companies. Shows just how multidisciplinary the approach had become. This wasn't only policing, it was strategic crime prevention, societal impact, measuring social harm. The 137 charges laid against the gang aren't just a legal victory, they're a public health intervention. Using social harm metrics, the police quantified the damage that would have been caused if these operations hadn't succeeded by preventing over $216 million in social harm. The 3-year inquiry eased the burden on New Zealand's healthcare, judicial, and social welfare systems. The ripple effects of meth and cocaine eating show in family violence. Hospitalizations and rehabilitation costs are often overlooked in media coverage of gang wars. By framing this as a public safety and health issue, the NOCG highlighted that law enforcement's role goes beyond punishment. It's about protecting communities from preventable misery. Future outlook: a fragmented underworld. The Comanchero MC hierarchy leaves a power vacuum, and for a time, underworld instability is likely. With the national vice president and every senior leader facing court, the remaining gang associates lack the administrative and logistical know-how to maintain transnational operation. Yet the 501 issue remains. Australia continues to deport high-risk offenders, ensuring a steady pipeline of criminal talent. The Comanchero inquiry's legacy is clear. Even the most sophisticated paramilitary-style gangs can be dismantled through persistence, financial intelligence, and targeted symbolic disruption. The golden empire of the Comanche image of swagger and social media dominance has been reduced to 137 criminal charges and a pile of scrap metal. Conclusion: the strategic triumph of persistence. The 3-year inquiry into the Comanchero MC represents the most significant achievement in the history of the national organized crime group. By moving beyond traditional boots-on-the-ground tactics and focusing on the gang's brains and the bank law enforcement, delivered a fatal blow to a group that once considered itself untouchable. Leadership decapitation, asset forfeiture, and financial liquidation. A new benchmark has been set for how the state combats transnational organized crime in the 21st century. As court proceedings unfold, the story of the Comanchero MC will shift from a tale of gold-plated glory and social media swagger to a detailed record of criminal failure, dismantled by strategy, persistence, and precision.